I'm Mark. I live or lived in a quiet little town in Virginia. Not one of those postcard places with flower baskets on every porch, but solid, decent, middle class. The kind of town where folks mow their own lawns and know the name of the guy who fixes their furnace. For 24 years, I was married to Nina. She was smart, warm, beautiful in a classic way, and had this kind of energy that made people naturally gravitate toward her. We met during my junior year at community colleges, was taking night classes for real estate licensing, and we hit it off fast. 6 months later, we were living together. A year after that, married. We built a life together. 2 kids. A house with a mortgage that always seemed to grow teeth. Plenty of bills. Not enough vacations. The usual. I worked in HVAC small business. She worked in real estate. Eventually opened up her own little office downtown after the kids got older. Max, our son, is 21 now. Works as an electrician. Has his own apartment about 10 minutes away. Good head on his shoulders. Hands like his old man. Our daughter, Laura, is 19. Just started her second year at a state college out in Kentucky. Art major. Full of big opinions and zero patience for anyone who disagrees. With the kids out of the house, Nina and I had started talking about travel, grandkids someday, reclaiming a little freedom. You know, the light at the end of the parenting tunnel? Our marriage, it wasn't perfect. No one's is. But it was real, built on years of habits, shared jokes, late night talks, compromises, and that kind of comfort that only comes from time. We had our rough patches, sure, but I thought we were solid. I really did. Then Tom and Sarah moved in next door. Tom Washoe, do I put this kindly loud? Big laugh, big voice, big into harmless pranks. He loved being the center of attention, always had some gimmick up his sleeve. Rubber snakes, fake lottery tickets, that kind of crap. At first, it was funny. The first few weeks after they moved in, he had a constant parade of gotchas aimed at everyone within reach, but mostly me. Sarah, his wife, was more reserved, polite, maybe a bit tired looking, like she'd already sat through 10 years of Tom's nonsense and was bracing for another 10. Nina and Tom hit it off fast. Too fast. At first, it made sense they were both high energy. They laughed at the same stupid jokes. But as time went on, I started noticing something I couldn't shake. Nina would laugh the hardest when the joke was on me. That's when the shift began. Subtle, almost invisible at first. We'd be at a cookout, and Tom would accidentally squirt ketchup on my shirt with one of those fake bottles. Everyone would laugh whatever, but Nina, she'd be doubled over, holding her stomach, wiping tears from her eyes. It wasn't just funny to her. It was hilarious, almost personal. I tried brushing it off. I've never been the sensitive type. Grew up with brothers teasing as part of the package. But this wasn't harmless. It started to feel pointed, like there was an inside joke I wasn't in on. One day, I came home to find Tom sitting on our porch, drinking iced tea with Nina while I'd been stuck 3 hours in crawl spaces fixing ductwork. I pulled up in my van, covered in fiberglass, and Nina just smirked. "Rough day, honey?" she said, tossing Tom a wink. I smiled, but something twisted in my gut. Then there was the time Tom fixed my truck by replacing the windshield washer fluid with colored soap, turned the whole windshield pink during my morning commute. Nina laughed about it for 2 days. She even told Laura over the phone, proud as hell. I tried talking to her about it, gently at first. "Nina, I don't mind a joke now and then," I said one night after dinner. "But it's getting old, especially when it's always on me." She waved it off. "Mark, it's just Tom. You know how he is. He's harmless." But it didn't feel harmless. There was something about the way she looked at him, like a teenager watching the class clown from across the room. That spark? It used to be mine. I told myself it was all in my head. I'd been working long hours. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe I was getting paranoid. God knows. Tom annoyed Sarah Touche, rolled her eyes constantly. We had that in common. But the seed was planted, and from that point on, I started noticing everything. The long laughs, the lingering eye contact, the way she touched his arm when she laughed light, familiar. I'd been married to Nina for over 2 decades. I knew her. I knew every expression, every gesture. And what I was seeing wasn't just friendly. I didn't know where this road was heading, but I had a bad feeling. And damn, if I wasn't right. It happened on a Saturday afternoon. One of those lazy, warm weekends where you just want to grill something and pretend the world doesn't exist. We were at Tom and Sarah's place, just the 4 of us. Tom had promised to show me some vintage woodworking prints he'd picked up online, and Nina had volunteered to help him grab drinks from inside. Sarah and I stayed in the backyard, making small talk about nothing in particular. I liked Sarah. She had this quiet dignity about her. You could tell she put up with a lot, but she had limits. After 10, maybe 15 minutes, I glanced toward the house. "They've been gone a while," I said, trying to sound casual. Sarah looked toward the kitchen windows, then stood. "Let's go check." When we walked inside, the kitchen was empty. So was the hallway. No noise, no voices, just the low hum of the fridge. And then they appeared from the living room, walking out like they'd just stumbled out of a high school makeout session. Tom had lipstick smeared on his collar, around his mouth. Nina's lipstick was crooked. Her hair looked like she'd run a marathon through a wind tunnel. They were giggling, like nothing had happened. "Hey guys, sorry for the delay," Tom said with a grin. "Got caught up showing Nina my, engravings." I looked at Nina. She was avoiding eye contact, holding back a laugh. Her face was flushed. She looked like someone who'd been caught doing something they shouldn't, but was proud of it. "Tom's got some amazing prints," she said, her voice sugary and smug. "You know what I mean, right, Sarah?" There was a pause. One of those moments where the whole world slows down, and your mind screams, "What the hell is this?" I finally found my voice. "What's going on here?" I said, my tone sharper than I meant it. "Why does Tom have lipstick all over him, and why do you look like that?" Nina shrugged. "Oh, I guess I got a little too enthusiastic admiring his art. I didn't mean anything by it. You're not mad, are you?" She smiled like a kid caught sneaking candy, as if charm could undo humiliation. Tom smirked, the same damn smirk he always had when he pulled one of his dumb stunts. And Nina? She kept stealing glances at me like she was testing how far she could push it. Sarah finally stepped in. "Tom, if you think you can joke around like this with another woman in our home, you'd better think again." But instead of backing down, they both burst into laughter, like it was all just a bit. I stood there, frozen, watching my wife and the neighbor joke about something that felt anything but innocent. "One of these days," I said more to myself than to them, "you're going to take it too far." "Oh, lighten up, honey," Nina said, brushing my arm. "It was just a prank. If you saw your own face, you'd laugh too." Then she turned and followed Tom back into the kitchen, still laughing. I just stood there, with Sarah beside me, neither of us saying anything. I wish I could say I left then, that I blew up and made a scene, but I didn't. I followed them back to the table, pretended everything was fine, smiled through clenched teeth while they poured drinks and changed the subject. That night, back home, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying that moment, their crooked lipstick, his stained shirt, the way they looked at each other. I waited until we were in bed, the lights off, and said, "Nina, that wasn't funny. That wasn't a prank. That was crossing a line." There was a long pause, then her voice, soft. "I'm sorry, babe. I got carried away. Nothing happened. We just wanted to get a rise out of you and Sarah. That's all. I smeared some lipstick on him and messed up his hair. That's it." I didn't answer. "I mean it," she added. "I'd never cheat on you. You know that. Loyalty means everything to me." And then she tried to kiss me. I let her. But something had shifted. That night was the first time I truly looked at her and wondered, who are you really? And what the hell are you laughing at? A couple weeks passed. Just enough time for things to go quiet. Or seem that way. Saturday rolled around, and once again, we were invited to Tom and Sarah's for dinner. Nothing fancy, just burgers on the grill, a few beers, and small talk about lawn care and football. Dinner went down fine, almost too fine. Everyone acted like the previous incident had never happened. Nina laughed at Tom's jokes like she always did. Sarah seemed distant, but polite. And me? I was just waiting for the next punchline. After we ate, the phone rang. Tom picked it up, said, "Hello?" then furrowed his brow. "It's the ER," he told Sarah. "They need you in right away. Car accident. Sounds bad." Sarah was an ER nurse, worked long shifts, unpredictable calls. She didn't even question it. "Damn," she muttered, got up, and went to change. 10 minutes later, she was out the door. As her taillights disappeared, Tom turned to me. "Hey, Mark, mind giving me a hand downstairs?" he asked. "I've got something I need to mount to the ceiling, and it's awkward solo. Won't take more than a minute." "Sure," I said, getting up. Nina stayed behind, real quiet, fiddling with her glass of wine. Her eyes avoided mine. Tom led the way down to the basement. It was unfinished bare floor, exposed beams, and that cold cement smell. He pointed to a metal support pipe next to the furnace. "I just need you to hold this little box against the ceiling," he said, grabbing a small black unit with a dangling power cord. "Can't hold it and screw it in at the same time." Seems simple enough. I reached up, wrapping my arms around the pipe, pressing the box up against the beam like he asked. "What's it for?" I asked. "I'll explain in a sec," Tom said, stepping behind his desk. "Just gotta grab the drill." Only he didn't come back with a drill. Click. Click. Something cold and hard snapped around my wrists. I froze. Looked down. Handcuffs. "What the hell?" I barked. Tom stepped back, grinning. "Sorry, buddy. Can't have you interfering tonight. Nina's got an eye for my engravings, and this time we want privacy." I yanked on the cuffs. Solid steel. The pipe was bolted into the floor and anchored overhead. "This is too far, Tom. Get these off, right now." "Relax," he said, throwing me a wink. "Just admire the view from down here. It'll be quick." Then I saw her. Nina. She'd followed us down at some point and was now standing on the stairs, smiling. Not laughing this time. Just watching. "You're in on this?" I snapped. She tilted her head. "I just want to see his prints again," she said, echoing the old joke, mocking me. Then they turned and went upstairs. Together. Leaving me shackled like a damn fool. I struggled, twisted, pulled, nothing gave. My wrist started to burn. The metal dug into my skin. Then, the ceiling creaked. They were in the room above me. I heard her giggle. Then a shoe dropped to the floor. Then another. And then her voice. Soft. Breathless. "I want you, Tom." My stomach turned. It was happening. I yanked harder. Cursed. Tried everything short of breaking my own wrists. The pipes rattled, but they held. Then the bed creaked. A slow, rhythmic sound. Familiar in the worst possible way. Then her voice again. Not laughing this time. Moaning. And his. Grunting. I closed my eyes. Couldn't believe what I was hearing. Couldn't not hear it. They didn't care. They knew I was down here. They knew and did it anyway. And for the first time in my life, I felt something crack inside me. Something permanent. I don't know how long I was down there, frozen like that. The sound from upstairs kept going, steady, deliberate. The kind of noise you never forget once you've heard it in the wrong context. It was our bedroom. I knew every creak of that bed, every sigh that escaped those walls, except now they weren't mine. They were his. And hers. Through the floorboards, I heard it clearly. "Oh God, Tom. Yes, don't stop." Her voice? My wife's voice. And not the kind you hear when someone's putting on a show. No, this was real, intimate, urgent. Every word slammed into me like a brick. I pulled against the handcuffs so hard I thought I'd dislocate something. The metal cut into my wrists, sharp, biting. Skin tore. Warm blood trickled down my arms. But I couldn't stop. Couldn't shut it out. Then I heard her say it. "I've wanted this for so long." That broke me. Because in that moment, I knew. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't a stunt to get a reaction. This was betrayal. Planned. Wanted. And I was downstairs, chained up like some discarded appliance in a goddamn garage sale. My chest heaved, but I couldn't cry. I was beyond tears. This was something deeper, pure rage and heartbreak rolled into one. Then silence. The kind that makes her ears ring. For a second, I thought I blacked out. But no, just silence. Then her voice again. Light and airy. "That was amazing, Tom." And then his. "We should check on our little prisoner downstairs." I heard their footsteps approaching the stairs. I didn't move. I didn't look up. I didn't speak. Let them see me like this bloodied wrists, face hollow, soul crushed. "Oh no, Mark," Nina gasped when she saw my hands. She rushed over, all fake panic. "It was a prank. I swear nothing happened. I just smeared on some lipstick. Tom messed up my hair. It wasn't real. Liar." She reached for the key in Tom's hand. "Give it to me," she snapped, fumbling to unlock the cuffs. I didn't take my eyes off Tom, not for a second. "You better run," I said. My voice was low, dead calm. He froze. "You hear me?" I growled. "Once I'm out of these cuffs, if you're still here, I will make sure you regret ever being born." His face turned pale. He handed her the key, turned, and bolted up the stairs. Moments later, I heard his truck screech out of the driveway. The cuffs clicked open. My hands dropped, numb and torn. Nina reached for me. I stepped back. Don't say a word. But I didn't. I don't care, I snapped. Whatever you think happened or didn't, it's over. You don't come home tonight. You don't call me. And if you do, I swear I won't be responsible for what happens next. Tears streamed down her face. I'm sorry, she whispered. Save it. And I walked right past her, blood dripping from my wrists, straight up the stairs. Straight out the door. I drove home in silence. No music, no talk radio, just the sound of my own breathing and the throb of bloodied wrists gripping the steering wheel. I could still hear her laugh echoing in my ears. Could still picture her walking up those basement stairs with Tom like she didn't leave her husband shackled to a goddamn pipe below their feet. When I got home, I went straight to the kitchen, washed the cuts with antibacterial soap. The pain was sharp, but clean, real, unlike everything else right now. I wrapped my wrists in gauze, slow and methodical. Then I started packing her things. Every drawer, every closet, trash bags, no ceremony. Her clothes, her shoes, the framed photo of our wedding that used to sit on the nightstand, gone. I dropped everything on the front porch, let the whole neighborhood see if they want it. And just as I was locking the door, headlights swept across the driveway. Sarah. She slammed the car door and marched across the lawn like a woman on a mission. There was no accident, she shouted. The hospital never called me. She was furious until she saw me. Her eyes widened. Mark your wrists. What the hell happened? I opened the door wider so she could step inside. Your husband and my wife pulled a stunt tonight, I said, voice cold. Locked me in a basement. While they did, whatever they did, I'm divorcing her. Sarah's face drained of color. Wait, what? You'll hear it from her and Tom. I'm not explaining it twice. Sarah stood frozen in the doorway. Behind her, the night air buzzed with cicadas. I closed the door. Then I went upstairs and stripped off my blood-stained shirt. Not 5 minutes later, the doorbell rang again. It was Nina. I didn't answer. She called my cell. I declined. Then came a knock at the back door, and then at the window. Finally, I opened the door just a crack. Her face was blotchy from crying. Mark, please, we didn't mean for it to go that far. It was just a prank. I swear we didn't. Stop, I said. Just stop. But it was just a stupid joke, I didn't think. You didn't think, period. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. You think this was funny? You handcuffed me like an animal. You let me listen to what sounded like you and Tom upstairs. It wasn't real, she insisted. We were acting. I never touched him. You moaned his name, Nina. I was pretending. I don't care, I shouted. I don't care if you were faking it or if it was real, because either way, you made a choice. A long silence followed. I could see it in her eye as she still didn't get it. Let me say this clearly, I said, voice low. For me, this wasn't a joke. For me, this was betrayal. But don't. This was infidelity. I warned you, Nina. I told you before if you ever cross that line, we're done. I didn't sleep with him, she whispered. That doesn't matter anymore. You did enough. Her lip trembled. What do I tell Max and Laura? She asked. You'll figure it out. You're good at making up stories. And I closed the door. Hard. The next morning, I ignored every call. Landline, cell, doorbell. Didn't matter. I sat at the kitchen table, nursing a cup of bitter coffee and staring at the scratches across my wrists. Around 10 a.m., a text buzzed in. Laura is driving in. She wants to talk. From Sarah. Great. By noon, I heard a car pull up, then the door slam. Dad! She yelled before even knocking. I opened the door slowly. There she was, me daughter, 19, smart, sharp-tongued, and now furious. What the hell is going on? Mom's crying nonstop. Aunt Sarah says she's a wreck, and you're ignoring everyone. I stepped aside. Come in. She stormed past me into the living room, arms crossed, eyebrows drawn tight. You changed the locks? Yeah. Why? I rolled up my sleeves. The bandages were still fresh, but underneath, red, raw skin, scabbed, crusted. The look on her face changed instantly. Jesus, Dad. Tom handcuffed me in his basement. Your mother helped him. Her jaw dropped. What? I explained everything. Slowly, calmly, from the lipstick prank to the night in the basement. And then I said, I heard them, upstairs, together. She slumped onto the couch, stunned. Please tell me you're joking. I wish I was. But she says it was just a prank. They all say that. I handed her my phone, opened the last photo I'd taken of the metal pipe, the cuff still dangling. That's where I spent the night. Laura covered her mouth with her hands. Did they actually? I paused. I don't know for sure, but it sure as hell sounded like it. She wiped her eyes. So now what? She wants to prove nothing happened, offered to take a lie detector test. You believe that'll help? Maybe. I told her the only way I'd consider it is if I control the questions, and if Tom takes one too. And? She agreed. So did Tom, apparently. Laura looked unsure. I got it. No kid wants to believe their mom might have done what I thought she did. But I wasn't shielding her from reality anymore. She crossed a line, Laura. I warned her before. I told her those games with Tom were going to end badly. My daughter looked down. I don't know what to think, she said quietly. You don't have to pick sides, but you need to know I'm serious. This isn't a tantrum. It's a breaking point. She nodded, wiping tears. Okay, I understand. I'll keep you posted, but until that test happens, she's not coming back. Laura stood and hugged me, tighter than she had in years. I love you, Dad. Love you too, kiddo. She left soon after, saying she'd spend the night with her mom at Aunt Sarah's. I didn't argue. Later that afternoon, I made a call to an old contact someone with ties to law enforcement. Got the name of a reputable polygraph examiner in the area. Guy named Jack Heron, professional, independent, discreet. I called and set an appointment for Monday. Explained everything. Made it clear. I approve every question. Jack didn't blink. Standard procedure in cases like this, he said. Good, I replied, because I want the truth. No loopholes, no games. Sunday morning came with a dull headache. I hadn't slept more than a couple hours. I poured coffee and stood in the kitchen, watching the steam rise off the mug. It didn't help. At 11:14 a.m., I got a knock on the door. It was Sarah. Her face looked like mine, probably did drained, serious, and 2 seconds from collapse. Mark, she said quietly. I found something. I motioned her inside. She walked straight to the kitchen table and pulled out her phone. Yesterday, I caught Tom acting strange. Every time I walked by his office, he minimized whatever was on his screen. He left in a hurry this morning, so I checked his computer. She handed me the phone. Screenshots, his browser history, 4 different searches. How to beat a polygraph. Best ways to fool a lie detector. Does putting a nail in your shoe help cheat a polygraph? I stared at the screen. My hand started shaking, not with fear, with clarity. Now I knew. Not just suspected. Now I knew. I told you, I said. They're lying. All this talk about a prank? It's garbage. Sarah sat down slowly. What are you going to do? Let him hang himself. Right on cue. Around 1 p.m., Tom knocked on my door, laptop under his arm. Smile so wide it made my stomach turn. Hey man, got something for you, he said like we were old buddies again. I didn't say a word, just opened the door. He stepped in, laid the laptop on the coffee table, and plugged in an HDMI cable to the TV. I know this has been a mess, he started, but I thought you'd want to see this. He looked too calm, too prepared. This is from that night, he added. It'll show you there was no funny business, just us messing around. Sarah came in behind me. He flinched when he saw her, but still, he pressed play. The video started. Flaunt fully dressed, straddling Tom, laughing. The same lines I heard from the basement, word for word. I didn't move. Sarah sat down on the arm of the couch, watching with crossed arms. 10 minutes in, it cut to black. Tom looked at me, hopeful. Well, he asked. I walked toward him. Tell me something, I said, pointing at the paused video. This little funny moment, why was the sunlight coming through the bedroom window? He blinked. I what? The day you two pranked me? It was raining. You remember? We stayed inside because the barbecue got canceled. He hesitated. Sarah stood up. You edited this. No, I didn't. I mean, you did. I cut in. And let me guess you played it through your laptop because the raw files are hidden and you hoped we wouldn't check. He started to speak, but I raised a hand. You lied to the polygraph, I said, and you lied to me now, but you forgot one thing. He stared. I pointed down at his foot. You're limping. That nail trick hurt more than you thought, huh? His mouth closed, then opened again. Sarah looked at him in disbelief. Tom, did you really put a nail in your shoe to fake the test? He didn't answer. I walked closer, planted my foot gently but firmly on his injured foot. The scream he let out was enough to make the neighbors peek through their blinds. He fell backward onto the couch, clutching his foot. You cheated the test, I said calmly. And now you brought me fake video to back it up. I was trying to protect her, he yelled. From what? Sarah snapped. From the truth? He didn't answer. I stepped away. You just confirmed everything I needed to know, I said. And now I want the original files. All of them. Tom, still wincing, nodded. They're on the drive, but you won't like what you see. I turned to Sarah. I already don't. He handed me the USB drive with a shaky hand. I took it without a word. Back home, I plugged it into my laptop. Sarah sat on the couch behind me, her arms crossed, jaw set like she was bracing for a train wreck. Inside the drive were several files. One stood out labeled Final, Cut. Others were numbered from 1 to 7. Another was titled Original. I clicked the Final Cut first. Just like the one he played earlier, Nina and Tom on the bed, goofing off, fully dressed, bouncing around, fake moaning, saying those same exact lines I'd heard while cuffed in the basement. Only now I could pause, rewind, scrub frame by frame, and one thing stood out immediately. Sarah, I said, look. I pointed at the sunlight streaming in through the window. This room only gets light like that in the morning. That night it was dark, raining, no sun. They filmed this way before. Sarah leaned in. Son of a... They faked it, I said flatly. Tried to gaslight me. I opened the original file next. This time the angle was different, less polished. Probably shot with a camera hidden in a bookshelf. And what we saw next? It wasn't acting. We saw Nina push Tom onto the bed. We saw her straddle him. We saw her turn and look toward the floor vent right where I was, below, listening. That one glance told me everything. She knew I could hear them. And she didn't stop. Sarah gasped. She was doing it on purpose? I nodded. That smile on her face? That wasn't performance. That was cruelty. A minute later, Tom rolled her over, fumbled with his pants. I hit pause. I didn't need to see more. My hands were clenched so tight I could feel my nails digging into my palms. Sarah whispered, Mark. I told them, I said. I warned them. This was no prank. This was betrayal. I grabbed my coat, stuffed the drive into my pocket, and walked next door. Tom opened the door, limping again. Before he could say a word, I hit him, right across the face. His head snapped back, and he staggered into the hallway. I stepped inside, voice cold and steady. Tell me the truth now. He was holding his jaw, eyes wide. Okay. Look, yes, something happened, but it wasn't full on. I took a step closer. Define something. We were fooling around. Clothes stayed on. It was. Over the line. But we didn't. You know? I didn't say anything. Just stared. Look, he said quickly. I messed up. But it wasn't what you think. We stopped. We made a dumb mistake. Then we got scared. And so you edited a video. Lied. Cheated a polygraph. Played me like a damn fool. That about cover it? He didn't answer. I could tell he was searching for the right words, but there weren't any. There never are when the damage is already done. I stepped back. Stay away from me, from Sarah, and from my house. You see me again, I won't stop at one punch. He nodded, face pale. I turned and left. Back home, I sat in the kitchen, hands shaking, but my mind calm. I finally knew the truth, and there was no coming back from it. It was late, house quiet. I sat there alone. Laptop still open, that damned USB drive still blinking. One more file left, the one marked Real Original. Part of me didn't want to open it, but the other part, the part that spent a night chained to a pipe, bleeding, humiliated, needed to know. I clicked. The footage loaded slowly. Different angle again, lower, more distant. Must have been filmed from a bookshelf or Ventno tripod, no staging. This was raw. And then they appeared. Tom and Nina. Same clothes as the night I was trapped. Same energy. But no jokes this time. No bouncing around or playing it up for laughs. This wasn't a prank. It started with Tom sitting on the edge of the bed and Nina walking over slowly. She smiled. Not sheepishly. Not nervously. It was the same grin I'd seen 100 times before, playful, flirty, dangerous. He reached out, touched her waist, and she didn't move. She just looked toward the floor vent, right at it, right at me. She knew. She knew I was down there, listening, watching, and she did it anyway. She leaned down and whispered something. I couldn't make out the words, but the body language said it all. Tom stood, pulled her close. She laughed softly. My skin went cold. They moved toward the bed. She pushed him down. She climbed on top. There was no mistaking it now. This was happening. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't some ridiculous acting. It was real. I paused the video. Couldn't breathe for a moment. That look in her eyes. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't hesitation. It was excitement. She was enjoying it. She wanted me to hear. I sat back in the chair, numb. My heart didn't even race anymore. It just ached, like it had finally accepted the truth. I let the rest of the video run. At some point, clothes came off. Movements got quicker. Sounds got louder. Same exact words I'd heard in the basement. Now with the visual proof to match. And after it ended, after their bodies went still, and Nina rolled off of him, they both laughed. She turned to the vent one more time, smirked, like she was proud. I closed the laptop slowly, sad and silent. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Just whispered, to no one in particular. That's it. We're done. 24 years. 2 kids. A home. A life. All of it dismantled by 2 people who thought my pain was entertainment. Whatever part of me still wanted to believe her, still clung to some hope it was a mistake, it died right there. There's no coming back from that. The divorce was quick, cleaner than I expected. Nina didn't fight it. How could she? After what I'd seen, what I'd heard, there was no debate left to have. She moved out quietly, took a small apartment across town. Word was she stayed with her sister for a while, but eventually found a place of her own. Alone? Roger? He ran. Right after Sarah filed her own paperwork and made it clear she had video evidence of everything, including unlawful restraint. I think the prospect of jail time was enough to make him vanish. Last I heard, he left the state. Coward didn't even ask about his house, just disappeared. Good riddance. As for me, I didn't go nuclear. No revenge campaign, no public scandal. I didn't post the video online or send it to Nina's coworkers. I could have. God knows I wanted to. But I didn't do it for her. I did it for Max and Laura. Instead, I handed everything to Sarah and to Nina's parents with a warning. If anyone questions how I handled this, they'll see the truth for themselves. That was enough. One by one, calls started coming in. First Max, then Laura, even Nina's mother. They'd seen the footage or enough of it. And for the first time since this whole nightmare began, they understood. I didn't need to explain anymore. No more awkward questions. No more guilt tripping about forgiveness. Just quiet support. I can't say I felt peace. Not right away. The house was too quiet, too full of memories. I spent evenings in silence, sipping bad whiskey, flipping through old photos like they were someone else's life. But I held my head high because I knew one thing. I didn't deserve what happened. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't cruel. I was just a man who trusted the wrong person and paid the price. And now, I'm learning to live on my own term. I walk taller, sleep better. I started going to the gym again, took up fishing, started seeing old friends I hadn't talked to in years. There's no new woman, not yet, but they're out there. And when I'm ready, I'll let one in. One thing's for sure, I'll never marry again. You only get one shot at that kind of trust. And mine? Well, mine died in a basement. But I didn't. I got out. I stood up. I moved on. And that's something they'll never take from me.